Hello everyone and welcome to another MLM shit show. What's that? Fourth video this week? What? Who is she? This is the first time ever that I managed to post 4 videos in 1 week. Yeah, good job. 4 videos in 1 week. It just so happens that it is my birthday week. My birthday is actually on 14th. It's gonna be past by the time this video goes up, but yeah, I guess my birthday gift to you guys is 4 videos in 1 week. Nah, I really wasn't planning on doing 4 this week, but this video was sent to me by someone. Thank you so much for sending, by the way. There's just a lot of tea spilled, so I was like, okay, I need to make a video on this as soon as possible. It's yet another Limelife rep that left for Tranont, and this happened before. I covered one person before that was comparing Limelife and Tranont compensation plans and how much she earned in which company, and she actually got kicked out, allegedly. That's what I heard, obviously, because she was bragging about how Tranont is a lot better than Limelife and how you should join Tranont. A good number of reps actually left Limelife for Tranont, so this is yet another one, and I screen recorded this, but I wasn't really listening. I was doing other stuff on the side, but I was told that there's a lot of tea to be spilled, and it's quite a long video, so I'm not gonna rant for too much. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button if you'd like to support me, and let's just put a little disclaimer in here and let's get into this shit show. So of course, as per usual, this video is called The Live I Never Thought I Would Do. I've noticed that whenever a rep is leaving an MLM company for a different company, they always name it in such a way. It was like, the live I never thought I would do, something that I never thought would happen. And it's like, okay, well, let's compare that to a normal job. Even when you get a normal job in a normal company that pays you well, has good benefits, do you ever actually think, oh my god, this is the company that I'm gonna stay in forever? Like, even if you're fully happy with your current job, if it's just a job that pays your bill, but even if you're up on a higher scale, you never know when a better offer might come from a different company. So I feel like most of the people are not gonna be like, oh my god, this company is so great, I'm gonna stay here until my retirement. It's just another strange mindset that I've noticed that MLM reps have regarding the MLM companies. I feel like when you're in a normal environment and a normal job, this is not your train of thought. But let me know down below. I might be wrong, but like my current job, it doesn't pay great, but even if it pays a lot better, I'd still be open to other opportunities in the future. Like, I know I'm staying here for now. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's just start.
Kind of take you guys back, like, this has not been something that has been just, in the last week or even the last month. This has kind of been coming for, a good solid couple months, but the little bricks of the pieces that started to kind of put it together has gone back even farther than that. So a couple things, like just notably in sales, fourth quarter, all of 2020 was kind of artificially high. Like the whole year was kind of artificially high. COVID was the thing. People weren't going to work. We had a lot of people signed to do businesses from home because it allowed them to make, income from home. People who could work from home and make an income were spending because, like, you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. Children's activities were shut down. Like, there was nothing, right? So 2020, there was like this artificially kind of high year. And then 2021 was like kind of a weird, artificially low year. Yes, Candace, it worked. Proving yet again. Listen to Candace. All of the sweary words in my head right now. I totally just lost my train of thought. Okay, so 2021, right, kind of artificially low. And in that like fourth quarter space, things I think were like lower than what we really like expected. But if you looked at like sales in general, direct sales, MLM, they were low across the board. This was not a specific, Limelife thing. It was just kind of where things were at. Because in 2020, none of us could go anywhere and we couldn't do anything, and then in 2021, finally, like, you could actually go somewhere and you could see people. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I wanted to like eat out and sit in a real restaurant. I wanted to get on an airplane. I wanted to like go see people and be places and do all of those things. So I didn't shop either. So like I wasn't shocked by it. And for us, like November's always been really good. December was like so, and like even January was always a really decent month at Limelife. Like we didn't really have the J months. It was never a thing. So I wasn't worried about it. So like usually on any given month, I'm looking at like, 6-8K is my like sort of sweet spot. If it's anything kind of over than that, when I had like the, the 10K paycheck, great. If it was anything lower than that, then it was kind of weird. But I like, correct me if I'm wrong, Candace, but when was the last time I saw anything that was under 6K? Like, I don't even remember the last time, to be honest. I don't remember. So, I mean, it's safe to say it wasn't 2021, it wasn't 2020, like maybe in 2019. I remember I went to 4 figures within like my first month. I'd signed kind of halfway through February, and then it was like March was like in the 4 figures, and I always hung out there from that point on. It just kind of bigger because when I signed, I needed to make $1,500 yesterday. So 3 figures for me was like just not a thing. So kind of at the end of last quarter.
I just want to say, like, this sounds very stressful. I mean, I know being in an MLM is stressful. Even when you're at the top, you're earning good money, but there's still that chance that people are going to leave your team, that something's going to happen, and then you're going to lose that income. I mean, I'm not saying that I feel bad for the people at the top 1%. I personally feel like that in order to get to top 1%, you have to know what you're doing and you have to be a scammer. But that's just my own opinion. Some people could be brainwashed, but I feel like most of them are not. So not that I feel bad for those people, but still I understand the stress level that kind of brings with you. And just this part of her saying people weren't shopping and she wasn't selling, she wasn't recruiting, so her salary went down a bit. And I was like, imagine the stress of not having that base pay. I just couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to do a job like that I never know how much money I'm going to earn per month. Even though like my current salary is low as fuck and I'm barely getting month to month with the inflation, but I still, at least I know that I'm getting that little base pay every single month, that I can kind of budget to cover expenses. That saying, it's summertime and our bills are through the roof already, and our heating this side, everything's electric in this apartment. We can't find a better apartment. Everything is so expensive, so we have to stay here for another winter, and I am dreading how expensive our bills are gonna get during the winter. But still, I have my base pay. I'm gonna try to ask for a raise, and now I'm ranting, so let's just keep going.
We start hearing that they're gonna do this Limelife, like, it's a new compensation plan, it's just kind of time, 2.0, whatever. And I've only been part of one company when a compensation plan happened, when there was a change to it, and it like wasn't cool. But like, long story short, it was like, at this point, I had never experienced anything at Limelife that had ever led me to believe that any situation was going to happen where things were like not going to be okay. So, okay, whatever, not really worried about it. We'd had some issues with orphaned account orders where basically like you didn't even know if somebody had ordered from you unless they had been messaging you. It was like, oh yeah, hey, I ordered these from me, and you're like, or from you, and you're like, you did. And then they'd be like, yeah, here. And they were like going someplace, and it was like this kind of ongoing issue. And there was like a real push to get people into their own customer accounts. And we were all kind of like, okay, but like whatever, things, just focuses of years sort of change. And in 2020, I had a lot of women come in who really hated direct sales, in general, but they came in because they sort of loved the vibe of Limelife and loved the vibe of our team and kind of all of those things. So kind of at the end of last year, there was just like, stuff just started to get weird. And if you were there, it was kind of some weirdness. And then there was a talk of this new compensation plan changing. And because I was part of, committees and whatever, I got a chance to see some of the, like trial sort of runs of what this change would look like. So it'd be like, oh, this is a chart, like this is kind of what we're looking at. It was like take 1, take 2, take 3, take 8. And it was completely confidential. I couldn't share them with anybody. And like, you also wouldn't want to, because like potentially if like, oh, this one is so-so, like some are so-so and some are really horrible. But it's like, this is so-so. You wouldn't want to say to anybody like, hey, this is what's coming. Cause then if it doesn't come, you're a liar. And at the same time, like if it wasn't great, you don't want to be like, so this is what's coming, and have like, people start to freak out. So, kept it confidential, looked at it, whatever. As the ones that I was seeing, you know, progressively moved into the double digits and the higher numbers, and they kind of kept stalling, you know, when it was actually going to drop, and we haven't kind of tweaked it, and we're running these numbers, and, you know, we're talking to the plats and, you know, whatever. I started to actually compare the charts with my team stuff. So like, you know, asking Candace, Kay, like, what is, you know, what are your numbers for this? What are your numbers for that? What are your numbers for that? And just kind of plugging it in, you know. And then I'd go into my back office and I'd look at, you know, my main leaders. So I had, like, you know, people who joined me initially. I had a very huge front line, and then I'd actually done a corporate restructuring just before COVID was a thing that year before, to have those like first leaders that joined me have everybody as directors. So I had structure, and then I used my extra people to create structure from them, which worked well. It bumped them all up in terms of ranks. And it also layered the leadership of people who were working with me on my front line, and I just didn't have as much to give. So I could pop them underneath, and then they had more people that they could talk to support them. So it was like a win-win kind of situation. I started running those people's numbers in too, where it was like, okay, I can see these are the volumes. And I'd be like, hey, right, like, how many new customers did you have this month? You know, how many total orders do you have? And I started plunking and putting these numbers in, and it just didn't look very good. So basically the idea was remove the structure, because people often feel like, you know, growing a team is really tough, you know, that kind of thing, and putting in other qualifiers instead. And so when I was looking at it with the habits of those beauty guides, the habits of their customers, so like, and from, you know, like completely different examples. So I'm going to use Candace as one and my mom as the other. Candace does not do bulk orders for anybody. You could not pay her, right? She doesn't want your shit coming to her house. She doesn't want to be there to hand it off to you. She's not delivering it to you. It's not happening, right? I'm kind of in the middle. Most of my people are, you know, like ordering their own stuff. But I would have, like, you know, putting in a bulk order on Fridays, or putting in, so it was like, you know, once a week or once every 2 weeks, you know, always once a month unless I wasn't here. The flip side is my mom. Okay, so we've got like BC to the Maritimes. She does a lot of bulk orders because her age and the demographic of the people who are ordering from her, like, these are not people who want to get on a website.
Stop. Oh my god, this lady recruited her own mother, and now her own mother is recruiting other older ladies. Like, I know I blurred her face. I don't know how much I'm gonna blur the face, but she's an older lady, so her mom must be like grandma age, like 70 or something. That just makes me really sad. But yeah, no shit, Sherlock, that people are not earning any money. And you're in the middle of a pandemic. A lot of people joined, not because they loved the vibe, but because they were desperate and they lost their jobs most likely. And they were sold on this opportunity that they can earn money with Limelife. And then she realized, wait, the numbers are not numbering. The numbers are not what? And a lot of people are losing money. On that note, I'm gonna link income disclosure statement down below for Limelife and for Tranont, if they have one. I'm not sure anymore. But anyway, let's keep going.
They don't want to fool around. They don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. They just want to send her a message or see her, you know, we're out and about, and be like, oh, hey, Marilyn, can you get me that lipstick? Can you get me this, that? And the next thing she orders, it's there, it's bagged, right? Like, right. So two radically different ways of running, you know, a business. Me somewhere in the middle, like, it wasn't working. So then it was like, okay, I'm going to put in a couple other people and see kind of like, how would this work for them? Also not looking that good. So I couldn't be alarmist, and I couldn't say to people, hey, I've seen versions of this new compensation plan, and it's not looking really great for you financially, because I'm not allowed to. And yet I did, because I felt like, just because of who I am as a person, I'm brutally honest, and, you know, it doesn't win me a lot of friends sometimes, but always wins me the right ones. I did start to encourage them to live life a certain way. So one thing people know about me as a leader is, like, if you want to come into a company to make money, I'm your girl, right? If you want to come in and expect to get paid for the work you didn't do while I tell you how sweet you are, pat your head, tell you you're pretty, I'm not your girl, right? If you want to come in because you have goals of, like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? Like, I'm your girl. If you want to come in for a brand new bestie, I have enough friends, I'm not your girl, right? So my people have always known, like, I will hand it to you straight. May have to send you to Candace afterwards if you're struggling with that, because she's nicer than I am. but I will always hand it to you straight, right? So I've always said, when anybody's been like, I freaking hate my job, but I'm making this money at, at Limelife, I'm going to quit my job. I've always said, do a year, right? Because we do have little peaks and valleys with sales. Do a year, see what it looks like, maintain it for a year, right? And then make a choice. If you want to go back to school and know that you're not working part-time because you're going to be doing that, do it for a bit, right? And then go. I've always encouraged, really look at all of the pieces. Don't just jump on something. And my team also knows, I'm that person who always thinks women should have their own income. It's great if you're in a situation where you're not particularly worried about that, but stuff can change real quick, and it does. So it's I want you to come in. I want you to make money. Whatever your goal is, that's what we'll do. As things change and grow, right? We'll edit, we'll change things, we'll move things around. But if you're planning on making a massive life decision, right? Slow the roll and do 12 calendar months. Now, sometimes things happen, right? And we don't get that option, and then we have to fly by the seat of our pants, but either way. So I started to encourage women to take every opportunity, which is something that Candace has always been with me anyways. So I started to say, right, some women were up for promotion. Some women were, they had babies, they'd been on maternity leave. And of course, most of them make enough money that, they don't even have to worry about that kind of thing. And they're like, I don't know if I'm going to go back to work, kind of all of those pieces. And I've been go back to your job, right? I'm yeah, take that promo. One of my friends in particular, right, was, somebody who had this really cool job opportunity in front of her. And I'm take it, right? And this was very much there was two sides to this. It was one, I believe that we should take every opportunity in life. I would never want to hold somebody back because they're related to my team. That's not how I've been treated by Candace. That's not how I'm going to treat somebody else. But I had this back reasoning of going I want to know the women specifically who depend on this income have eggs in other baskets, because I don't know how this is going to play out, right? And I tried to say as much as I could without saying too much to get myself into trouble. So in January, I made the decision to go back to school. I'd kind of been dabbling with that whole idea in 2021 because I was
that's very interesting, actually. So this is a groundbreaking opportunity that can give you time freedom, financial freedom, but then she tells her friend when she gets a job offer to take that actual job offer, which kudos to her. But I wonder what kind of changes were made to the compensation plan. If you know what she's talking about, because I don't know that much about Limelife. I don't know what changes were made, but obviously people would earn a lot less money. Well, not that people are earning great money before the change anyway, which is proven by the 2021 income disclosure statement for Limelife. But yeah, I'm still curious. She doesn't really say what changes were exactly made. She just says obviously that people would earn a lot less money. But anyway, interesting. Okay, so let's keep going. This is take two because she had some connectivity issues or something. So take two is where stuff gets some names get thrown around and some drama within Limelife and her team, stuff like that. So yeah, let's spill some tea.
Of the end of the exclusivity clause. So Candace had hopped on a company, and it was kind of what is this, that you're doing, and she was well, they're relatively new to Canada. They're, health and wellness, which I hate health and wellness in general. Hate it because I like chips. And I feel a lot of them, even the names they call things and stuff is very this whole everybody should be skinny, thing. And so I hate it. So she was health and wellness, which is which to me was a dirty word. And I'm oh, okay. Right. And she's but they have this collagen, and she's take a peek at some of these products and stuff like that. And I'm okay. So took a peek. I'm okay, I'm impressed.
Okay, this is kind of bothering me because if this woman, I don't know, this is Facebook, so I don't know if she's on Instagram, but I presume that she has to be on Instagram. And okay, I get at one point, why would you think health and wellness makes you want to be skinny? But at the same time, there's this whole body positivity movement that's been going on for years now, and I feel a lot of the people on social media, even bigger influencers and people like that, have gone to not wanting to be skinny but strong and also healthy, and but also at the same time happy with your body even when you want to change certain stuff. So I'm not sure that people want to be skinny anymore. Like, I know it still happens, or maybe it's just me because I'm more on the fitnessy side on Instagram, and I just see other girls like lifting super heavy weights and saying how strong they are and how good they feel. So maybe that's just my experience, but I feel like just in general fitness has managed to go away a little bit from the being skinny thing. But there's also a lot of issues in the fitness industry, so I do understand where she's coming from. But yeah, anyways, moving on.
Impressed with who's formulating these. I'm impressed with, you know, what's in them. Having like a back, yes, chip salad. I actually ate these. They're kind of marketed as being health food. They're 100% crisps, but I was hangry after fighting with this live so many times earlier today that it was just like, I'm going to have a little like carby snack so that nobody dies. I was impressed with what they had, like what they offered, how they were formulated, who formulated them. Very specifically, like, I think, you know, the collagen for sure, but also like the enriched piece, because like my background is science. I'm super nerdy kind of personality. I was impressed with like a stabilized probiotic, the digestive enzymes that went with it, and actually the inclusion of the herbs that they chose, from somebody who also like has a mother with a herbal medicine background. So I was just like, okay, right. Compensation plan wise, solid. Hasn't really landed in Canada yet. You know, you can make money at a company that's been around forever. You can build something from scratch. Absolutely. I've done it every single time. But there's something special about coming in before other people are there, where it's like you can have less of a skill set and have more success, if that makes sense. So you really like have more of the benefit of learning as you go, but you were like, you're being gifted more just because of that timing piece, because you were willing to hop on something when there was a lot of quirks and things that had to be worked out. So that's where we're...
Okay, so saying the quiet part out loud, even though she kind of tried to say, well, it's possible. If you join an older MLM, you can still build stuff from ground up, which no, you can't, unless you have a big following, or if you're bringing another team with you from a different MLM, or if you join the groundbreaking opportunity, which I don't know how old Tranont is. But yeah, so that first part is bullshit and the second part is right, because if you join early enough, then you have a bigger chance of succeeding in that MLM. But she said every single time, like, I wonder how many different MLMs was she a part of. It sounds like she's been a part of like 10 of them by that statement.
Okay, so did it, right? Told my team first, because I would never want, you know, it's kind of when things happen, it's like I tell my team and then I tell my VIPs. Because I would never want my team to hop onto something and be like, wait a minute, she's promoting this. Like, so, like, is she not with us anymore? Did something happen? Like, what's going on? I don't like to leave anybody feeling like that. So Candace had hopped on, was kind of doing her thing, and it was like, we were sort of watching how that was going. And then it was like, okay, right, I'm going to get on doing this and we'll sort of see how this goes. And February was like a rough health month for me. So it was like, okay, we'll see, you know, kind of where this goes. Once I told my team, that's when there like started to be a shift of things. So most people were like really good, right? They were just like, oh yeah, like I've hopped on doing, I don't know, some like nail thing, right? Or like I'm, you know, I've always been using such and such, and now I can actually like talk about it. So like I'm over here, that's super cool, you know, la la la. I had a couple people who were pretty upset, one friend in particular. And I've spent like, I'm telling myself like, one, we're going out tonight, I've got makeup on, so I'm not crying about this. I've spent months crying about that, but like, I'm going to tuck it in today. Cause I never, like when a friendship starts before you come to a company, you never expect to have anything sort of happen. And if I would have known how this would have played out, that invitation to be here would never have been sent, because I wouldn't have traded the friendship for, you know, any of the benefit of, you know, that at the company. I just wouldn't have.
And that is something that we say very often happens in an MLM. If you switch companies, or if you just decide to leave the MLM, a lot of the people are going to stop talking to you. A lot of the friendships are going to end there. Not all of them. There are some who still stay friends, but most of the people are just going to shut you down. And this is very sad to hear, like, because this friendship was going on even before they joined an MLM, but still that wasn't enough for them to not stop talking to each other after this woman decided to leave for a different MLM, which is extremely sad, but it is something that happens quite often in MLMs.
the uplines, and like I said, when I say upline, I don't mean Candace. I mean above Candace. The snarky was shocking. Shocking. And that's like probably the biggest understatement that I will drop of 2022. Shocking. Limelife was always very collaborative. It was always very all-inclusive. It was women who came from other companies were like, you know, shocked at how well we worked together, right? Where everybody recognized these are our strengths, these are the weaknesses that we all have as individuals. How do we play off what we're good at, you know, and tuck in what we're not, and, you know, and create something where it's like, you know, we're better together in something. And that was very much the whole company. Now, I think there have been people who've said like, you know, they had less that experience or not, but I had women come to our team who did not have a good thing to say about direct sales, right? Nicole George comes to mind. You know, and they were just like, whoa, right? Like, this is different, or something about how you guys operate as your team is different. So it blew me away. In the friendship situation in particular, she was upset, which was fine. I expected that to last a certain amount of time because like it is shocking, right? Like, and I get that, and totally have empathy for that situation. But then it felt like from above, there was like an accelerant poured on certain pieces of it. There was no like pause to like let's think logically, you know, or why don't you have a conversation with Eileen about like why this is. And for me, the biggest piece is I was watching, you know, how these numbers would fit in. And I knew I had gone back to school. So I have like one of two choices here, right? I have to provide for my children first. So I could either go to school, I have compulsory attendance, go to school in my program, compulsory attendance, and make enough money from home to float my family. Or my second option, it's a shitty one, I had to quit my program and go to work. Because when I'm plunking the numbers in, it's dramatically different, right? It's dramatically different. So I'm just like, okay, I've done this for years. I've made an income from home for years. I have taught women to do it for years. It is something I am more than capable of doing, and it's something I am more than capable of teaching somebody else to do. So I'm like, I'm going to try to stick with this, where Eileen goes to school and works from home, where Eileen does what she's always done and then tacks school on top of it, right? I don't want to go to this option because it's the shits. Okay. So it was very much there, but I like watched this like marionette situation that like pulled in other people, and there were side conversations of all kinds of stuff. And it was like, it was mind blowing. And maybe it's because she's my friend. I want to be like, okay, right. She was a victim in this situation too, you know, whatever. There was definitely some pieces she played. There was definitely some pieces I played, but I feel like a lot of it came from above, and honestly just that like scramble of like, oh, I'm losing these teammates, you know, whatever. I'm just going to be shitty. I'm going to try to, you know, like maintain pulling as many beauty guides as I can, you know, who really gives if they're not going to get paid, who really gives how things are going to be changed. Like it was gnarly. There was chats that like were the women, it was kind of divided, where there was those who had started a side gig separate from Limelife, and then there was those who were exclusive to Limelife. So it was like, you're either with us or you're against us. You know, chats all of a sudden got really quiet because new chats had been made. All of the exclusive beauty guides were moved into a new chat. All of the exclusive beauty guides were moved into new groups. I was literally...
That doesn't surprise me at all that they've divided like that, because these people are so brainwashed. This environment is so cultish that if you see someone starting something on the side, you're going to start seeing them as, oh my God, how dare you? How dare you want to leave our cult and do something else on the side? Which, like I said, it doesn't surprise me that this mentality is around. But she said the correct thing. Her friend is a victim. Her friend is a victim by just being recruited into the MLM. Everyone in MLMs is a victim. Everyone was vulnerable at some point and was recruited into an MLM. That makes them a victim. But then if you, at the time, after some time, you realize what you're doing, you realize that a lot of people are failing below you, especially if you're on the upper ranks like this lady was. I find it hard to believe that, yeah, obviously for a while, maybe you can go on like Erin was pretty high up and prove it. But then after a while, you're gonna like be like, well, this isn't really clicking. Like this doesn't really feel great, you know? So she still moved from Limelife to Tranont. Tells me that she knows what she's doing, but she doesn't really care and she just wants the money for herself, in my own opinion. So it's hard for me to look at her as a victim, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. But yeah, everyone in an MLM is a victim or was a victim at one point. So that was a correct thing that she said there. But all the chats drama, it just sounds so exhausting to me, as like group chats are exhausting as they are, and I can't imagine having like a million other group chats being created, have to follow everything, all the tea and hating on people who have side hustles. It's just, oh my god, so much drama for like grown-ass women that have kids and families. I don't want to be ageist. I don't know if that's an ageist statement, but anyway.
Grown out of groups while still being a beauty guide. Like, and I had never done anything that wasn't, you know, kosher with how things were. Like we were told, you know, it's exclusivity is open. Anybody can join another company. You know, you can't poach or talk to people that are not your frontline or you're personally enrolled. And I followed that bloody rule to a T, because if I hadn't, believe me, there'd be a lot less beauty guides left a lot quicker. Right? So it's like, I was watching, I knew Candace was following the rules. I was following the rules. Women who came over, because again, I'm known as somebody who goes where the money is, right? Candace is known as somebody who goes where the money is, right? Like, it's like, I will literally show you, this is the paycheck, right? Like, there's no smoke and mirrors of, oh,
yeah, you go where the money is for yourself, and you don't give a shit for what happens to people that are below you at the bottom ranks who don't earn any money. I am surprised that she just said that.
Can't do this, or oh, I couldn't tell you that, or like la la la, there isn't. It's just like straight from the hip, this is where it's at. So when women who have worked with us saw us, you know, move to do something here as well, they were kind of like, oh, I want to get on that as well. And there was never any intention of us not being at both companies, because long story short, it was like, here we have cosmetics and skincare, you know, what you're putting on the outside. And over here we have products that pair really well with healing your insides, which also affects your appearance, right? And feeling good. And we just figured that they would be like, you know, like this, it was going to work so well. And the people who hopped on initially were like, this is really awesome. I've got like my skincare and makeup people want to like take the collagen. So they're like, you know, more youthful from the inside out, right? And then there was a whole group of people who were like, well, I've never really cared about skincare. Like, I wash my face with baby soap and I never wear makeup. But I could get into something that like addresses my gut, because I live in the constipation diarrhea cycle, or like whatever it is. Yes, I said diarrhea. Anyways.
Okay, if anyone lives in a cycle of constipation and diarrhea, you don't need to self-medicate by joining an MLM and buying random products. You need to go see a doctor, talk to a professional, do some tests, see what's causing it. I know we're all aware of this, hopefully by now, but I just wanted to put that out there.
And that's kind of how we saw it, you know, like that's how we saw it going down. And then all of a sudden there was just this like junk, right? Like coming out of nowhere. And it was like, who are these people, right? Like, and that's very much how February and a big chunk of March like paid out. It was bad. And I mean, in March also, I was like super sick and pregnant, but hadn't told anybody yet. We were like in the middle of doing our Invitae and, you know, kind of all that stuff. So it was like schoolwork, cry, February, you know, all of a sudden everybody's just like, right? And some was expected, but the stuff that wasn't expected was like, holy crap. And then in March, I was like, I'm sick and I just want to cry and I'm waiting to get this blood work back. And it just wasn't cool. And then in April, we finally had the actual final product of the compensation plan. So I'm just like, okay, in theory, yeah, it was a beautiful marriage in theory. In theory, Candace, it was great. In actuality, it turned out to be the shits. But that has zero to do with you and me. So we, in April, hi babe. In April, we finally see this, right? So I get the opportunity to go and I'm start grab like my numbers from my team, from, you know, just a couple previous months, grabbing their previous Aprils and plunking them in, like all of April. Once that term was done and I was moving into like my accelerated term with my heat class that I hated. Thank God. Thank you, Kathleen, for getting me through that. I was plunking in the numbers and the reality of what that was going to look like for all of these women who I had told, this is a life-changing opportunity. This is where you want to be, right? All of those people. I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is a mess. This is an absolute mess. So it's just like, okay, look at the whole list of the people that I have on my Facebook. How many people are doing this? Or sorry, in my back office. How many of these people are doing this for fun? Okay, not a big deal. How many women have come to rely on this income as their...
Well, who does network marketing for fun? That's what I want to know. And by the way, there's nothing different in Tranont. Across all MLMs, most people are still losing money. So I still feel like this compensation plan change is mostly going to affect her. And that is what triggered her to change companies, because she saw an opportunity. She said it herself. She goes where the money is. So she saw an opportunity to earn more money in Tranont. I don't feel like she actually gives a shit, because if she did, she would know that most of the women below her are losing money. So it doesn't make a difference to them if they're going to be losing money in Limelife or in Tranont. They're still going to be losing money. And I feel like Tranont doesn't have an income disclosure statement, so it's hard to put some numbers in it. But yeah, like I said, Limelife income disclosure statement is down below. And the compensation plan, I believe, probably did not make any big changes into what like 90% of people who are at the bottom rank earn. But that's just my own opinion.
Primary. Okay. How many of these women have started second gigs where they're like, yeah, and it's just like I can check and be like, how are you doing with that? How, you know, la 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 la. Okay, these people, who do I have left? Right? Are these women also like working full time? Is this just their vehicle payment? What is that? Right? Like the numbers, the math. I freaking hate math. Right? Like I hate it. But I was like going through and I'm just like, okay, because I'm looking like I somehow have to figure out how to not have their lives implode on them, because I brought them into this opportunity. Meanwhile, there's Zooms with uplines, and they're literally saying, come and hop on these Zooms. Bring your numbers, bring your sales, and bring your team sales. And we're going to tell you what your new rank's going to be, because they put in all of these new ranks. I couldn't even name them for you, but it's just like there used to be certain ranks. And with each rank, you kind of had bonuses, and there was things that like when you ranked up, it meant something. You busted buns, you ranked up, and it meant something. After this, it was like there was a lot of extra titles, but if you actually looked at the chart, it didn't mean anything, which I think is about the time Natasha did a live called Ranks Don't Pay Your Bills. So looking at them, X, Y, and Z, I got on these Zooms, and these people would be like, oh, like I'm a star beauty guide. And they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, well, with your sales here and your team, you're going to be, you know, imagine 3 ranks up. And these women are like, oh, good, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm going, but there's 3 details here that we're missing. 1, you didn't ask her what her new volume was, because now we have to have new volume every single month, new customers, new customer accounts from their own new emails. Qualifying volume, right? It's capped at 125 in Canada. So if you had an order like that was 60, it would count for 60. If you had 125, it would count for 125. If you had 387, it would count for 125, right? And then the last piece is that these rank ups, if you look at the chart, it doesn't actually mean anything, right? So if you're somebody who's like, oh, I'm excited, you know, about a title, fine. But if you actually thought that you were going to be paid more, or that it wasn't necessarily going to happen, and if you didn't get these 2 other things, you might not actually hit that rank anyways, because like our PRS, you know, was no longer a thing, and like the base was no longer a thing. Kind of all of the things that we had used, including structure, was no longer a thing. So these were the new qualifiers, the PNV and the QV. And it was very sales focused, right?
So that was the problem, was it? That it was sales focused rather than recruitment focused? I have no idea. Like, if you've ever been in Limelife, if you have any stories to share, please do email me. My email is in my description box of the channel, in my channel bio. Oh my god, I don't know how to speak. I've been recording for a while, and it is quite early in the morning, and I'm running on maybe like 5 hours of sleep, which is not great. So if I forgot to comment something, or if I missed something, which I probably did, and I always do, please comment down below your opinions and your thoughts, or correct me if I said something wrong.
You know, again, which is fine. Corporate decision, fine. But the thing about a sales-based company where you're not, you know, you're not building a team and you're not really being paid on a team, the problem is you have to go from 0 to a number every single month, right? And I say this as a person who was named top sales every single year that I was at the company, right? So it's like you're going from 0 to like 1,500 was our platinum active. And yes, there were platinums and higher up leaders who bought their own stuff and who took advantage the way that they're out.
Okay, I wanted to skip that part, but she just literally said sales based comparing to recruitment based is not gonna get you that much money. So basically saying the quiet part out loud, if most money floats from recruitment, this is what makes a business a pyramid scheme. It doesn't matter if they have products on the side or no. So in my own opinion, she just indirectly said that Limelife, it's a pyramid scheme.
Always is going to be in every company, in every, you know, program. There's always going to be those people, right? So I get that. But there was these X to Y, Z things that we did every month. And now this was completely changing how things were. So if you've built a team, you have built residual income. And I've heard people say, oh, so-and-so so awesome because, like, you know, she's never made a team or had a payment made off of her team, or she never makes money off her team. This is not a selling feature, period. A company that doesn't pay you on a team, or like touting, oh, this person, you know, doesn't get paid on their team. All that means is that they've never built a team, of which companies legally you get $0 for sponsoring somebody. And if they have, they've never taught them to be successful, which is also not a selling feature, right? So it's just like you've got women who worked for years to, you know, sponsor women in, telling them it was life-changing because it was, right? Teaching them what to do so that they would be successful, so that ultimately, you know, we would be successful too, because that's how it works. And all of a sudden, none of this means anything. And actually within the culture, it's almost there's like an attempt to make it like a dirty word, which is totally ass backwards to everything else that, like, well, it's ass backwards to reality, because at any job, if you oversee people, you teach people to do things, you work with them on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, you're called something like a manager, and you get paid more to do that. Same thing, okay? Same thing. So, you know, it ended up in May, when it dropped, we decided we were going to max out our qualifiers. Like everybody who was like, okay, right? Like, because there's a lot of women who looked at it and been like, and we're like, I don't think this is going to be very good. And I'm like, I don't either. But you know what? Let's have a good attitude and let's hit it as hard as we can.
I don't think this is going to be any good because we're not recruitment based anymore. This is better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, let's max out our qualifiers. Let's see what it looks like. You know, so we maxed out our stuff. We coached our teams to max out our stuff. You know, and at the end of the day, we all had paychecks that were less than half of what we were accustomed to. Right? Like, it was the lowest May paycheck I've ever had, even after my first May with the company. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. So I mean, cue women who are like, I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my rent. You know, I can't make my vehicle payment. My husband and I are fighting because I usually bring in, you know, $2,000. I'm not going to have that this month. We're going to have to cancel our vacation. You know, I've been month to month paying for an activity for my child. They're not going to be able to go anymore, Eileen, right? And my inbox is flooded with women who are crying and losing it, you know, because they busted their ass to build these companies, right? And now they've busted it this month to do, you know, because they could win on this compensation plan. And it's not looking like that at all. Like, at all. And I get the whole idea that it's become, you know, we're going to exchange income for payments, right? Like, I think Candace said it. It's called an affiliate link. It's this very idea that there are a lot of foot soldiers moving products. And the thing is when we talked to Michelle on the phone, you know, she said, we expect that we're going to lose a third of our sales field. And, you know, most of that is going to be leaders, right? And it was like, okay, right? But it was like, okay, but if you're a little, I think if maybe you're a new beauty guide, you can probably win for about your first 90 days. After that, things are going to get tough because it comes down to that P&V and that QV. But either way, like I had maybe 3 people in my whole team who were happy with their paycheck. And on any given day, because I have hundreds of other women, I had tears in my inbox, phone calls, voice clips, right? Like literally women saying to me, I don't know what I'm going to do, right? And I'm like stuck between a rock of like, should I have said more last quarter when I saw this coming? You know, like it was.
You know what you should have done? You should have never have recruited them into a fucking MLM that can be so uncertain, and you never know if you're even gonna earn a paycheck. And this is just heartbreaking that so many women were struck by this. And instead of telling them just go find a normal full-time part-time job, a corporate job or something, what did she do? She most likely just cross-recruited them from Limelife to Tranont. Obviously I don't know, this is what's alleged to me. Maybe she's gonna say by the end of this video, but anyway, it's just, oh my god,
horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So we got on the call, you know, with the CEO, and she was just like, yeah, no, this is what we expect. And the thing is, I didn't need her to explain anything to me at all. That, you know, I got it. I understood the stuff. I wanted her to understand the real human consequence of this change, because for me, that's where I was looking at. And maybe some of that is just me from this industry and knowing how it's changed my life. Like nobody owns me, right? And it's because of this industry, you know, I do whatever I want.
Nobody owns you. You are your own boss. But this change in compensation plan screwed you over so much that you needed to leap onto a different MLM company. How does nobody own you then? How are you your own boss? And how is this your business if someone above you fucked you over, excuse my language, that you had to switch companies? And a lot of the girls, women below you, were screwed over as well financially. So how are you free there? Like, it does not make it. She's so close. She's saying it. She's saying all the things, but she's just missing the point. Oh my god, so frustrating.
And that's how everybody should be, because it means that you don't do things like hang out in shitty relationships or shitty jobs or whatever. You can do whatever you want, right? So it was like, came from a place of believing that, you know, this would be a positive change, and it just didn't turn out to be that way. And then, of course, my social work brain looks at it from a perspective of like women who are usually underemployed, right? They have more precarious employment. They're less likely to have benefits and things like that. Not so much being a woman, more being a mom, but you get dinged for that too, right? And I'm going like, here's a company that's always been about empowering women, you know, and working together and the beautiful things that we could build. And all of these women have come in trusting me, and the rug has just been ripped out from underneath them. You know, and it's just like I had nothing. I was just somewhere between like angry, sad, and grief, and just feeling absolutely like I wanted to throw up, you know, all the time. And I watched these initial ranks happen in the month, but then those beauty guides were like, but I'm not being paid anymore. Like, I'm a director, but I thought directors made 4 figures. And I'm like, no, they don't anymore. Like, all the ranks have changed. Go compare that old chart to the new chart. It's not the same thing. Right? So it's just like, in order to win this one, you're going to have to do this, this, and this. It's going to be different, right? Like it just, it was struggling and it wasn't working. And when I was looking at Candace's stuff, it's like, it's not working for me. It's not working for my top leaders. It's not working for my mother. It's not working. Like if it's kind of not working for a person or two, you're kind of like, okay, right? But when it's not working across the board for so many women who run their businesses in so many different ways, it's like, okay, we've got the full-time Limelife for Candace, not working for her. Me going to school full-time, so representing like full-time school or full-time employment, not working. Someone like my mom, self-employed, chooses her days, chooses her hours, also not working. It's like, you know, and there's this whole idea, don't have a bad attitude, you know, you just keep going. Don't have this, you know, this idea that, you know, that this isn't going to work. Everybody can win. They can do this. They can do that. It's just like, no, there are so many hoops now that there weren't before, that, you know, it was like corporate was saying one thing, but all of these women were saying something else.
Have you seen any of the income disclosure statements for your company, your ex-company Limelife? Like, it wasn't working even before this change in the compensation plan. What the hell are we talking about? This is just getting more and more frustrating. Oh my God.
To me, right? And at the end of the day, my loyalty is to them. And that's it. I know I wasn't getting paid, but I wasn't really worried about it because I'd replaced that lost income with the other company, right? So I was just like, this is okay, right? Like, it's going to be fine. Those women who've hopped on to other companies, right? It's just like, we'll just, yeah, Amanda, just stay positive and work harder. Yeah. It's just like, you know, we're going to help them make up that income so they can be here and, you know, we can play makeup together and we can really love it. But from a straight up math perspective, you know, we'll figure out making sure that everybody gets fed because that's where it's down to right now. And at the end of the day, it's not about loyalty to a company. It's about feeding your family first, right? So it's like, we're going to figure this out. It's going to be good, right? And we'll just, you know, we'll figure a way out it. So in June, there was a lot more focus myself on my other business. Because that had been keeping the wolves away and then replaced my income, you know, within a matter of months. So when you've worked over here for years and, you know, and had a decent income and that's basically crumbled and like you have to, you know, like stand on your head and hop on one finger, you know, while also eating banana chunks in order to get paid. And over here, you've got something that's a very straightforward sort of process. It's like, okay, I'm going to focus here. And anybody who had also picked up other side gigs and things like that, it was like, okay, like, right, like, let's look at these because we went from being one of the really best cosmetic compensation plans to not being great. So when people were putting in other compensation plans, oh, I'm here at, you know, I'm here at Tupperware, I'm here at Silver Icing, it was like, okay, right, like, let's figure out how to do this. Let's make sure that that we're keeping the wolves away. I don't care if you're at Limelife anymore. I don't care if you've resigned. I don't care about any of it, right? Like, it's like the people first thing. So like, let's just do that. So that's what we did. And in June is when I noticed that corporate started to like chime in. There was like snarky lives. There was, you know, there was Zooms and, you know, things where names were repeated and stuff was said. And, you know, and Candace got roped into that. Her name started to get dropped as somebody who was doing this and she's doing that. And she was doing absolutely nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong at all. All they saw was that she went to a company and all of these people were following her, right? Why? Because we know her. Because we have loyalty to her. She's a woman's woman. She's a mom's mom, right? Like, she gave a shit.
Well, I mean, of course, if you're leaving a company and you're taking your team, you're cross-recruiting, of course people, especially people at the top, are not gonna like that because they are losing people as well. Whoever recruited Candice, her upline is losing people and money. Of course, they're not gonna like that. That's nothing weird. Nothing unexpected. Like, I don't know why she sounds so surprised by that.
In the situation. And she was like, hey, right? Like, here, I'm making money. You need to keep the wolves away, you know, whatever, right? Like, over here. And so, I mean, there was stuff circulating. And I mean, maybe corporate knows that we all know about that. Maybe they don't. Yeah, by the way, we know. And that was all just like, they started to chime in. So then it was no longer even like catty uplines, you know, it was corporate. Corporate was chiming in on it. And it's just like, if this was TELUS or if this was, you know, like a hospital or a school, like, you wouldn't be you wouldn't get away with this. Like, this is not how corporations act, right? So I was just like, ugh, with all of it. Like, and I was like, okay, but you know what? We're just going to focus on making money. Who cares on how it gets done? You know, we're just going to, you know, stay cool. And I just decided, you know what? Most of my team is leaving and I'm fine. I'm waving them off into the sunset with that. It's like, let me know how I can help you, you know, whatever. Some left to come to that other company, 100%. A ton of people left to go to other companies. Cool. Add me to your VIP group. You know, let me know what your new promos are. You know, do you have an email subscription list? I'll sign up. Right? Like, if I can buy something from somebody I love and care about, that's always going to be my number one. Cool. Brian, it's like, I'm like, okay. And I'm done crying about my friend. And it's like, everything is in a place, right? It's in a place. I have loyal customers. I'm going to hang out because I like the products and because I have loyal customers. I'm not going to kill myself to do it. I'll be back to school. You know, I have the summer off. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be very pregnant and hot. And then it's like, I'm going to go back to school and it's all in a place and we're good. And then there was a little funny story that happened. Upline.
Oh, tell us the funny story. Spill the tea, please. I'm sure I'm speaking for most of the people, but we do love when a former rep spills some tea on her former besties from a former MLM.
Not Candace. Went and signed with Tranont. Seriously. You cannot even make this shit up. So frame us as being like she-devils, like hell incarnate, right? And then hop on the same company. Huh. I think very quickly she learned that she was going to be like tar and feathered by, I don't know, insert hundreds of beauty guides. And then very quickly made a hop to Modere instead, right? But at that point I was just like, right? Like it's somewhere between like you want to laugh because it's hilarious, but you also want to cry because you know, and this woman in particular, instrumental in destroying that friendship. So I was just like, yeah, I've got nothing good to say. So at that point, I'm like, you know what, Candace and everybody else, I'm just not even talking about this because if I get started, I'm not going to know where to finish. So I'm just like, I'm just going to leave it alone. Just going to leave it alone. Okay. And then in July, I got an email from corporate about Canat. So Canat was a title that you could earn in 2020, Canadian National. And basically the Canats were the people who, you know, really expanded the brand in Canada was the idea. So you had to sponsor so many people. You had to get those people to certain ranks. You had to hit certain, you know, whatever. And a bunch of people signed up to do it. And by the time it was done, you know, there was like less than 10 of us. And then a few people ended up leaving, you know, to other companies. And then there was like 6 of us left, right? And like, of all the accomplishments I've ever had at any company, right? And I've had a lot of them. It means nothing to me to be named top 5, number 1, you know, top 20, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. Like Candace, like she laughs about it because she's just like, you really don't care. I'm like, no, just pay me. Like, I just want to do my job. I want to get paid. I don't want to live my life. That was the title that like is probably the only moment in my direct sales career where I'm just like, fuck yeah, I did it. Killed myself doing it, but I actually was proud of myself. And we were like in certain paraphernalia and we had our own like company and like, you know, they gave us gifts of stuff and we had our own attached bonus. And like we were supposed to be like this direct line with corporate for Canada, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I do hate the spotlight for somebody who does this job. But really I'm just talking to myself on like, I'm talking to my phone alone in my room right now. But like, it was, you know, it was like, this is really cool. Right. So we got this email basically saying if you weren't exclusive, you were going to be stripped of your Canat title. You know, you would no longer be on the committee. You would no longer receive your bonuses or anything, you know, to do with that. Was like, we would be pulled out of the Shine magazine that has like, you know, the certain like leaders and ambassadors and the nationals would be in there too. All of it. Right. And I just like, I got the email. And I was just like, I wanted to be sick.
But what did you expect? Of course, if you start straying away from their company, they're going to cut you off. Even though she was still technically in Limelife, but I get why they don't like you moving to Tranont and you talking about how great and better Tranont. Like, it just makes sense in my head that they would do this. Even though I guess if it doesn't say in the compliance, it's not really fair, but it's kind of a gray area and I'm not surprised. I don't know. I just personally, I'm not surprised.
And for me, it was just like, this is my final straw. Like, I remember sending a message to Candace and then crying afterwards and being like, I thought everything to do with that friend had been horrible, you know, and it was kind of like, all right, but we'll get through it. And then I watched the shit that was said about her and I was like, okay, but I'll still pull through it. And then finally, like the 3rd time, it was like, okay, so you've told me that I don't have to be exclusive. I've built a business elsewhere to pay the bills because you're not paying us, you know, and now because I've done that, you will strip me of a title that I fucking earned. cool. Right? Like, I know I called Candace and lost it. I know I called Garrett and lost it. He didn't even really understand what it was, but I was just like, "Ooh," like, you know, and it, you know, and he's always really calm. He's like, this place is a nightmare. Like, it's a nightmare, you know? So August, I just decided that was kind of my final month, right? Like, I couldn't even hold on for customers anymore. Right? Like I can't shop my own back office. I couldn't purchase products for my own anymore because I was like, I don't even want to be supporting anything. Right? Like I thought that like, you know, just being okay with losing a third of their sales field, being okay with the very human impact that all of this had. Right? Like I'm just like, I can't even be part of it anymore. I can't do it. So I decided that August would be my last month. You know, and that it would be onwards and upwards from here, right? So, you know, I started the health and wellness thing, you know, beforehand, and that's going, you know, really well. And the structure of it is very straightforward and simple. It works very well for women who are really busy, you know, for women who don't want to do lives, right? Like they don't want to be teaching somebody a technique. You're not dealing with shades and techniques and things like that. You're dealing with like, what do you have going on? What would you like to address? Here's some suggestions. It's a very straightforward and simple. Works really well for full-time school, for kids, you know, all of that. And, you know, the makeup piece, I always know that I get squirrely when I don't do makeup. Like there's something about that is just, you know, an inborn piece of me. So that piece is not going to die either. It's just going to look different. But I have to say, like, I've left other companies before, you know, and it's always been just kind of like, okay, yeah, like I'm done. But this has been one of the most emotionally taxing experiences of my entire life. It really has been. And I've had some shitty stuff happen. But I've never felt so just like dragged through something as what this has been. And a lot of beauty guides were just like, farewell and fuck yeah, like, you know, like resign, and they were good. For me, I think I'm still kind of grieving how much like work went into building something that was so beautiful. But thankfully, like the contacts, really -1, that was super important to me. The contacts are, you know, continuing, the friendships are there, the bonds are still there. You know, we're off doing different things and things like that. That piece has stayed intact. But the rest of it, you know, I can't even really in depth explain just the emotional turmoil that was experienced by me, by my team, you know, by my friends in the company, by the women who weren't even really friends of mine, but, you know, that were work associates and acquaintances and stuff like that. Like it's been an experience. And I know that there's been word on the street with other companies of like, oh, whatever, you know, is going down there. Yeah. Anyways,
that's it, and we're gonna finish that off there. That was long. I've been recording for over an hour now, and let me know down below what you think. If I forgot to comment something, let me know. If you know more than me about the compensation change that they did, please let me know down below. But like I said before, I'm not surprised that there was big drama. We've seen it happen in Monat, in Paparazzi, whenever people were leaving or if they were terminated. There's always drama, always chats made, name dropping, calling them out like this on lives. And it's something that it's not just in Limelife. It happens in almost every MLM when something like this happens. But yeah, yet another one just left for Tranont. Are we surprised? No, we're not. Let me know down below what you think about it. Again, thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. The algorithm loves you and I love you. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe button if you'd like to support me, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.